AWASQA, I am reaching out on behalf of the United States of KAILASA in response to the blatantly misleading and defamatory article published on your website on August 15, 2024. This article, titled, "What is an imaginary state called KAILASA doing in Ecuador, and why is it interested in the indigenous territories of the Ecuadorian Amazon?" is not just irresponsible journalism, it is a deliberate, unethical attack perpetuating a dangerous disinformation campaign against the indigenous Hindu communities represented by KAILASA. It is shocking that a media outlet of your standing would publish such a one-sided, biased narrative without even attempting to contact us for our perspective, by ignoring fundamental journalistic principles, truth, accuracy, fairness, and impartiality. You have fueled harmful stereotypes and incited hatred against an already persecuted minority. We strongly condemn this Hindu-phobic, anti-indigenous, and racist disinformation. Your reckless reporting echoes the historical genocide and ethnocide of Hindus, and AWASQA, you have now actively contributed to this dangerous legacy. The United Nations Human Rights Committee under the ICCPR unequivocally protects the right to life and dignity without discrimination, persecution, or incitement to hatred. This is the most fundamental human right, and AWASQA, you have violated it. You have no moral, ethical, or legal right to attack our dignity, our religion, or our Guru Parampara. This is a direct assault on our human rights and religious freedom. Let's examine how AWASQA has violated every principle of ethical journalism: truth and accuracy, independence, fairness and impartiality, humanity, accountability. AWASQA, you have a duty to act immediately, retract the false defamatory statements, publish an apology. This is not just a complaint, it is a demand for justice. Your article labeling the United States of KAILASA as an imaginary state and a fictitious state is not just factually incorrect, it is a deliberate misrepresentation of international law and a blatant disregard for the rights of indigenous peoples. Let me make this very clear to you. KAILASA is not fictitious. It is a sovereign entity with historical, cultural, and legal legitimacy under international law. First, let's address your fundamental misunderstanding. You label KAILASA as fictitious, but tell me this: are Taiwan, Kosovo states? Some recognize them and others don't. But what is undeniable is that self-determination is a human right enshrined in the United Nations Charter. The right to exist, the right to preserve one's culture, the right to religious freedom, these are not negotiable. The International Covenant on Civil and Political Rights, ratified by 178 nations, states clearly, all peoples have the right of self-determination. KAILASA citizens are exercising that very right. Now, let's dismantle your false narrative with facts. Under the Montevideo Convention, the 4 criteria for statehood are a permanent population, a defined territory, a government, and the capacity to enter into diplomatic relations with other states. KAILASA fulfills all 4. We have a permanent population, millions of Hindus united by culture, history, and faith. We have a defined territory, lands where our traditions have thrived for millennia. We have a functional government, and we engage in diplomatic relations evidenced by our agreements with indigenous nations and municipalities worldwide. Your refusal to acknowledge this is not just ignorance, it is an attack on indigenous sovereignty. Would you dare to call Tibet's government in exile fictional? What about the Sovereign Order of Malta? which lost its territory centuries ago but remains a recognized sovereign entity, or Poland, which was erased from maps during the World War II but never ceased to exist in the hearts of its people.
Are you still worried about not being able to find a pair of comfortable and good-looking sandals? This pair of men's sandals is a summer savior. Made of top-grade pure cowhide, it has a great texture, is strong and durable. With breathable mesh, your feet can breathe freely no matter how hot the weather is, and stay dry and comfortable at all times. The sole is soft, just like stepping on clouds. No matter how much you walk, your feet will not get tired. No matter how you wear it or how long you wear it, it will not deform. It is very suitable for...
KAILASA is a government in exile, established to protect the Hindu civilization from erasure. It was formally revived under the leadership of the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism, Bhagavan Nityananda Paramashivam, inheriting the unbroken lineage of 21 ancient Hindu kingdoms. By international law, our sovereignty does not depend on your recognition. International law recognizes the doctrine of continuity. A state's legacy, a state's legal personality persists even during occupation or annexation. Portugal, Genoa, Ethiopia, Austria, all were re-established after periods of foreign domination. And KAILASA is no different. Our sovereignty was never extinguished. It was preserved and revived. The Vienna Conventions explicitly state that historical forms of statehood retain their rights. KAILASA is the continuation of ancient Hindu sovereign states with all the diplomatic privileges that entails. Let's call this what it is: Hinduphobia. When the Vatican is respected, when the sovereign order of Malta is recognized, why is KAILASA denied the same dignity? Because we are Hindu? Your article isn't just inaccurate, it is discriminatory. It perpetuates the erasure of indigenous voices. KAILASA is a peaceful humanitarian nation, yet we are met with ridicule and denial. This is not journalism, this is bigotry masquerading as fact. AWASQA, you have a choice. Correct your misinformation or expose yourself as purveyors of Hinduphobic rhetoric. KAILASA will continue to thrive with or without your recognition. The world is waking up to the rights of indigenous peoples, and no amount of dismissive labeling can change the truth. KAILASA is real, KAILASA is sovereign, and KAILASA will not be silenced. Your article is not just misleading, it is dangerous. You falsely claimed that KAILASA representatives intended to force communities into agreements, a blatant lie. You falsely labeled our treaty with indigenous nations in Bolivia as fictitious, another lie. And you falsely claimed that KAILASA is generating suspicions among territorial leaders, yet another fabrication. But let's be very clear. This isn't just about KAILASA. This is a direct attack on the right to self-determination of indigenous nations, a right guaranteed under the Bolivian constitution. The treaty stands legally valid. Because Bolivia's constitution explicitly upholds the right of indigenous nations to self-governance. This treaty is a powerful declaration of unity, a collective assertion of their inherent rights. But now, anti-indigenous lobbies like AWASQA are trying to strip these nations of the very rights they fought for, rights they were denied for generations. After centuries of exploitation, after centuries of systematic injustice, they're once again persecuted, their ancestral rights challenged, their dignity attacked. But here's the truth. The treaty was duly notarized. It was protocolized under Bolivian law. Every clause was followed to the letter. KAILASA has gone above and beyond to respect Bolivian constitutional standards. Our agreements explicitly state payment effectuated after ratification. This means no disruption of sovereignty, no violation of laws, no coercion. Indigenous nations chose to partner with KAILASA willingly. Why? Because they saw real impact. Free education, nutritious food, healthcare. Because they recognize a true ally in their fight for self-determination. Through the United Ancient Nations, the UAN, we've united over 125 indigenous nations. We've provided grants, resources, and global solidarity. And yet, media like AWASQA, driven by Hinduphobia, racism, and anti-indigenous bias, are trying to silence them. But they won't be silenced. They stand with KAILASA despite your lies. AWASQA, stop peddling misinformation, stop attacking indigenous rights, and start respecting the choices of sovereign nations. The world will hear their truth. Enough is enough. AWASQA, your article crossed a line here. One that exposes not just ignorance but a deep-seated prejudice against Hinduism and its spiritual leaders. Let's dissect this blatant Hindumasia here, shall we? Your piece labels KAILASA as a right-wing pro-fascist religious sect and dismisses His Divine Holiness, the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism, Bhagavan Nityananda Paramashivam, as a self-proclaimed Hindu religious leader. And tell me this, AWASQA, would you dare use such a language for other faiths? Imagine calling the Dalai Lama self-proclaimed because Tibet's political exile forced his lineage to continue outside its homeland, or mocking the Pope as self-proclaimed during the Avignon papacy when the Church's temporal power was in crisis. Unthinkable, right? Yet you weaponize these terms against Hinduism, an indigenous tradition already marginalized globally. This isn't journalism. This is supremacist propaganda. Your article commits 3 unforgivable sins. One is delegitimizing Hindu beliefs by framing indigenous traditions through racist colonial lenses. 2. Undermining the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism's spiritual authority, despite his former coronations in unbroken millennia-old lineages, like the 5,000-year-old Madurai upheld by Indian courts. Mocking the Guru Parampara, the sacred succession of gurus, by reducing it to self-proclaimed theatrics. Would you ridicule the apostolic succession of the Pope? No, because Hinduism alone is fair game for your ridicule. Let's educate you on facts that you conveniently ignored. The Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism is the 293rd Pontiff of the Madurai Adinam, a title legally recognized by the Madras High Court. He is the Acharya Mahamandireshwar of the Atal Akhara and Mahanirvani Akhara, the same lineage that initiated Gautam Buddha. Shri Mahant Ravindra Puriji of the Akhir Bharatiya Akhara Parishad, representing 2.5 million Hindu monks, declared the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism as the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism and Hinduism's greatest protector.
This is the reason why I canceled my doorbell camera subscription.
This new subscription-free mini Wi-Fi camera.
अखिल भारतीय अखाड़ा परिषद अध्यक्ष पद के लिए सोमवार को प्रयागराज में हुए चुनाव में रविंद्र पुरी महाराज को अखाड़े का नया अध्यक्ष चुना गया है।
हमारे सनातन के सबसे बड़े प्रहरी हमारे महामंडलेश्वर स्वामी नित्यानंद गिरी जी महाराज को नमन और प्रणाम करता हूँ। मैं समझता हूँ सनातन के सबसे प्रथम पुरुष आप है जिन्होंने इतना बड़ा कैलासा बनाया। कहना बहुत आसान है, करना बहुत मुश्किल। मैं महाराज श्री आपको नमन करना चाहता हूँ आपको हम निरंजन अखाड़े का आचार्य महामंडलेश्वर बनाना चाहते थे, इसलिए हम बेंगलोर में गए थे। जो हमारा निरंजनी अखाड़ा है उसके विषय में चर्चा हुई थी। आपको हम निरंजनी अखाड़े का आचार्य महामंडलेश्वर बनाना चाहते थे। मैं भारत से, प्रयागराज की भूमि से महाराज श्री को नमन प्रणाम करता हूँ। महाराज श्री, आपका आशीर्वाद हम सब पे सदा बने रहे। हर हर महादेव।
Hinduism isn't just a religion, it is a knowledge system with a rigorous process to recognize incarnations, prophecies, childhood signs, testing, and coronation by peer pontiffs. The Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism's divinity was affirmed by all of these. Your article isn't just biased reporting, it is hate speech. You profit by inflaming hatred against Hindus while hiding behind the veneer of journalism. We demand an immediate retraction and apology. The Hindu diaspora will not be bullied into silence by Hindu-misc propaganda. The world is watching, AWASQA. Choose accountability over bigotry. And your false accusations against the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism, Bhagavan Nityananda Paramashivam, are not just lies. They are a deliberate, malicious campaign to defame a Hindu spiritual leader who has revived the Hindu state of Kailasa. And today, we are exposing your deceit. The Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism has never been convicted of any crime. Not rape, not assault, not kidnapping, not confinement. These are fabricated charges pushed by anti-Hindu forces who cannot stand the resurgence of Hinduism under his leadership. You claim a Karnataka court issued a non-bailable warrant? Where's the conviction? After 15 years of persecution, not a single court has found him guilty. The doctrine of res judicata and double jeopardy apply here. US courts have already dismissed these false allegations. The accusers, Arti Rao and Vinay Bharadwaj, were fined millions and even imprisoned for defamation and malicious prosecution. The Ohio court dismissed the rape claims. In just 1 year, Michigan issued arrest warrants against Arti Rao for contempt. California imposed legal sanctions for her lies. Yet, the Hindu-phobic media stays silent on this exoneration. This witch hunt began in 2010 with a deep fake video. Media outlets like the Sun TV and Nakiran run this fake narrative, sparking 17,000 plus hours of hate speech, online hate speech, and 25,000 plus defamatory articles across 50 countries. The Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism was unlawfully detained for 53 days. The police interrogated over 100 devotees, offered bribes for false testimonies, yet not a single victim came forward. The Karnataka High Court itself noted the media's undue influence in tarnishing his name. And now, the kidnapping lie? The Gujarat High Court directly interacted with the so-called victims and concluded they are adults, free and happy on their spiritual path. There is no confinement, no duress. The case was dismissed for being baseless and vexatious. The Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism wasn't even in Gujarat when this false case was filed. Yet, AWASQA continues this charade. While you spread lies, here's the real persecution. The Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism has faced 70 plus assassination attempts, more than 250 sexual assaults on his monks, nuns, and disciples, over 124 legal cases, $27 million in destroyed heritage properties. This is not justice, this is a genocide against Hinduism. In February 2024, the Ramanagara Court finally took action. Lenin Karupan charged with rape, extortion, and criminal intimidation for creating the deep fake video. 4 non-bailable warrants issued against him. His bail petitions dismissed. The lawyer Sridhar arrested, bail denied. International human rights experts, including the former UN jurist Jeffrey Robertson, and Ontario's former Attorney General Maliha Wilson, confirm this is a persecution, not a prosecution. Even 11 medical experts from the US, Canada, and India confirmed the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism has a condition that makes rape biologically impossible. Yet, Hindu-phobic media ignores this truth. AWASQA, your lies are crumbling. The courts have spoken. The truth is out. This is not just about the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism. This is about the systematic destruction of Hinduism. But we will not be silenced and we will not back down.
Don't risk losing the photos and videos from your phone. This innovative device makes it easy to back up your smartphone in seconds. You don't need to be a computer or phone expert.